Good afternoon and happy Monday to you all. I'm Casey Moore. Alongside of me is Anthony Davis and my USA Today Sports colleague AJ Newhart and we're here. Even though it's a little bit different, the digs are a little different today. We're still here to give you the NBA Power Rankings, Week 6. We'll also touch on the MVP voting, the Rookie of the Year voting, as conducted by the USA Today Sports Network. For those of you who are watching live, please feel free to type in questions, comments of any kind, and we'll do our best to answer them in real time. If we don't get to them in real time, we'll get to them after the fact, or we'll try to. All right, AJ, you ready to dig in?
I'm
here?
ready to go.
All right.
Let's do it.
It's mostly the usual suspects in the top 10 this week. As the season moves along, I assume that that's pretty much going to be what we're dealing with here. Why don't we get through the top 5 here? Obviously, number 1, Warriors. Any threat to the Warriors?
Not right now.
Not right now.
I mean, it's, we talked about this last week and the week before, how, insane it is that I think we actually got a question last week saying, when are the Warriors going to gel?
Right.
Exactly. That's really like a legitimate question. And they're 21-4, and they're on pace for, right around 70 wins again. So
quietly on that, yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think they haven't even reached their ceiling yet. I mean, obviously, that 21-point loss to the Grizzlies on, we'll talk about the Grizzlies later, of course. That 21-point loss to the Grizzlies on Saturday was pretty surprising. But, it's the NBA, and sometimes teams have an awful day, So right now, no, especially not in the West. I think they're the top tier, and then there's a second tier that's the Spurs, and then a third tier that's, just about everybody else. I think, we'll talk about the Clippers too, but I think they're, really struggling, and I don't think they're anywhere near the same level as the Warriors right now. So, in terms of those top 5 teams, we have Warriors, Spurs, Cavs, Raptors, and Rockets, and none of them right now are posing any threat, really.
And most of those teams, I mean, you look at some of the movement that they've made in the past week. Warriors were 1 last week. Spurs were 2 last week. Cavs are up 1 spot. Raptors up 1 spot. Rockets up 1 spot. So really, you got basically the same 5. Obviously, the Clippers, which we'll get to here in a second, dropped out of that top 5. But of those 5 teams, do you see any surprise there? Is that going to be the top 5 in a couple months, or would it surprise you at all?
I mean, the one that is most surprising to me is the Rockets. Yeah. I mean, I think in our preseason projections had them, 8th or 7th finishing in the West, because, we really thought this is a team that's not going to play any defense, right? And they can outscore just about anybody, but you can't win that way. Yeah. But, they can.
Right, exactly.
And their defense hasn't been as bad as we thought it would be. So they're on that 6-game winning streak. They have James Harden just playing the best basketball of his life. He's number 2 in our MVP rankings, and I saw a quote from Ryan Anderson who said he's having the most fun he's ever had playing basketball, and it's just so fun being on this team, which actually says a lot, because last year in Houston, it definitely wasn't fun. Yeah. So they're probably the biggest surprise in the top 5. I don't know if they'll, be there next week.
Yeah.
But right now they're playing some pretty incredible basketball.
Cool. Well, all right, so rounding out the top 10, let's go. 6 is the Clippers. They're down 3 spots, so they were number 3. We'll get to them here in a second. 7, surging Grizzlies. They're one of our top climbers this week, playing very good ball without Mike Conley. 2-way tie here for 8-9. We got the Thunder and the Jazz, and number 10 is the Hornets. Let's go to the Clippers for a second here. They've dropped the 3rd most spots in our rankings this week. Positive first. CP3, 20 points, 20 assists, no turnovers. It's the first time this happened since they calculated turnovers. But what is the deal with this team? You see them blow out Cleveland. You see them not get blown out. You see them get blown out by the Warriors.
Right.
Are they a top 5 team? Are they a top 10 team? Where are they? Where do they lie?
In terms of talent, yes. In terms of talent, they're a top 3 team.
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, they're 5-5 in their last 10 games, which the Clippers should not be. I mean, they got out to that really hot start. I think they got as high as number 2 in our power rankings. Yeah. And they're, like I said, they've lost 5 of their last 10. One of them was, they lost by 17 to the Warriors, and it was really like a 30-point loss. I mean, that game really was kind of a statement by the Warriors saying, hey, we're here, you guys aren't. You guys are a couple tiers below us right now. And I mean, a couple days before that, they lost to the Pacers, who can't really get anything going, and lost to them by 9 points. So you know, I mean, like you said, Chris Paul, obviously, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, they're immensely talented, but right now they need to, you know, it seems like it's the same story every year, but pretty soon they need to figure it out and get some things going.
On the other side, you got the Grizzlies, who big win against the Wizards. They moved up the most spots this week in our rankings. So, what's making this team go without Mike Conley right now?
So, you know, I hate the expression, if the season ended today, this will happen. But if the season ended today, David Fizdale would be Coach of the Year. Because, you know, Mike Conley goes down, everybody expects they're going to drop off. I even wrote a story about the 3 teams who can move into the Grizzlies spot in the playoffs. Now, I want to go back and delete it. You know, unfortunately, I can't do that. But, you know, it's so shocking. I mean, they've won 6 out of the last 7 games without Mike Conley, who's an all-star caliber point guard.
Right.
And
They're
the fact,
leader, yeah.
right, and they have a rookie head coach in David Fizdale who is getting every single player, veterans and rookies, to buy into his system. You know, I mean, you have Marc Gasol hitting game-tying 3-pointers. You have JaMychal Green grabbing 20 rebounds. You have, I have some of their stats here. Troy Daniels scoring 31 points. Tony Allen, who's been a defensive player his whole life, scoring 20 points.
Right.
You know, so it's just I mean, Marc Gasol is playing great basketball again. He's back healthy. Zach Randolph is finally back. He's playing great. So the way that everybody's buying into this system, and kind of like, they don't think they can lose. They think they have a shot in every single game, which they should. And now they're surging, and it's very, very interesting to see that happen.
I misspoke. They are actually, the Grizzlies are not the top ranked mover, the top mover. The Wizards are, but we'll get to them in a second. So we rounded on our top 10. Let's go to the flip side, the bottom 5, which we assume that most of these teams are gonna be here for the long term. You got 30 as the Mavericks, really, really tough year for them. 29 the 76ers, which is actually a win for them. This doesn't count into the rankings, but they almost won by 20 last night at Detroit. So I mean, that's a big.
Honestly, we don't count the Sundays games in the rankings. If we did, honestly, you know, it sounds crazy, but they'd probably be 27th.
There you go. I mean, they're climbing.
Which is climbing for the Sixers.
And the team, I know we talk about this every week with them. They have some talent.
They do.
You see them. You see them on the cusp. It's kind of a cool thing. Kind of a good process to watch, right? 28 the Nets, 27 the Suns. Now 26 is the team we want to focus on here. Is the Heat. They are down more spots than any team for the week. They're down 5 spots. Biggest mover. What's happening in South Beach?
I mean, we didn't expect the Heat to be very good, you know, coming into the season, obviously, after, you know, losing Dwayne Wade, and they don't have Chris Bosh, and they just, you know, we didn't expect them to be this bad, though, right? So, I mean, they've been killed by injuries. I mean, they've been without Justice Winslow, Dion Waiters, Josh Richardson, who are 3 on a 6-game losing streak now, I believe, or maybe 5 games, which is not very good. You know, Josh Richardson came back, so that's a plus. Dion Waiters and Winslow should be back soon, but Winslow's been out, I think, the past 14 or 15 games. So they just really need their guys to get back healthy before they start winning. Honestly.
We do actually have a question. Actually, it's not so much a question as a comment about the Knicks here. Let me go back. It's Robert Cologne. So the Knicks are looking good, but it's still early in the season, so it's a wait and see approach with me with a question mark. I'm assuming he's wondering if the wait and see approach is the approach to take as a Knicks fan.
I think it's always a wait and see approach with the Knicks. No offense to the Knicks, but as a fan, I'm sure you understand that. So, I mean, they're very, very hard to figure out. They've won 6 of their last 7 games, which, you know, 2 of those games were against Sacramento, 2 were against Minnesota. I think 1 was against Miami, so they haven't been beating, you know, the NBA's best teams, but they've still been winning. But then on, I think it was Wednesday, they got blown out in MSG. I mean, you saw the Cavs doing the water bottle flip challenge.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was a disgrace, honestly. It was terrible. So, and they don't really play defense either. I wrote something the other day about the top 5 worst defenses, and they're, in statistical categories, are one of the worst defenses. So, but then they're 14-10 in 4th place in the East. So I don't know.
And the game Porzingis had last night.
Yeah, 7 blocks.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was I think they said since '83 the first 20 points, 20 rebounds. Is that what he had? 17 rebounds.
17
something like
rebounds.
That.
Yeah.
And 7 blocks. I mean, that's
Yeah.
I mean, you have a night like that, and then you come back and you lay an egg against Cleveland, a team that you are. I mean, if you want to be the best in the NBA, you have to be better than Cleveland first. Hear that?
No, I mean it doesn't help that the East there's so many teams in the middle of it, that are they can finish as high as 4th, dare I say 3rd, probably not, but they could also finish in 8th or miss the playoffs completely.
Yeah.
So temper your expectations, but right now, winning 6 of your last 7, it's some of the best basketball they've been playing in a while.
But enjoy it right
exactly,
now. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So that's our top 10 and our bottom 5, and now we'll talk a little bit about the teams that moved up the most and the teams that dropped the most, which we've touched on a little bit here. So let's start on the positive side. Let's be nice first. The Grizzlies we talked about, they moved up 4. 5, the team in our backyard here, the Wizards. What's going on here?
I think a lot of it is, so they went 3-1 this week, which is great, but they're still, what is their record? They're still 9-13. So, obviously, I think we projected them to have 43 or 44 wins at the start of the season, because talent-wise, they should be able to do that.
Yeah.
So they've really underperformed. I think all of our voters, the fact that they won 3 out of their last 4, they're kind of thinking, all right, now they're getting it going. And they had that win against Milwaukee where they were down by 5 in the final couple minutes, and they scored 11 straight points and closed out the game, which the Wizards have historically, in recent years at least, have had problems doing, is closing out those close games. So that was definitely encouraging. I mean, they're nowhere near where they should be or where they want to be. So I think these next few weeks, up until Christmas and even up until the All-Star break are huge for them to figure out, are we going to be a middle of the road Eastern Conference playoff team, or are we going to the lottery? Because they could be both.
Yeah. Okay. So there's also another team that we can touch on, but I feel like we're putting them there. We're putting them in the movers. They're the climbers one week, and then we put them in the droppers the next week. The Magic up 3 spots. There's no other way to categorize their season at this point except schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they could just as easily be down 3 spots again as they are up 3 spots. So and then we'll move on to the ones that have not had quite the best week. The Heat we talked about. Right behind them, dropping 4 spots to number 24, were the New Orleans Pelicans, who lost all their games this week, including to Philadelphia.
Yep.
So this guy is having a great year.
One of our MVP candidates, that's right.
So what's going on there?
Man, so of course, this happened right after they won, I think, 5 out of 6 or 5 out of 7, and I did a video saying now that Jrue Holiday's back, they can contend for the playoffs in the West.
Yeah.
And then they lose their next 4 games. So, of course. But, man, I mean, that was a demoralizing loss at home to a Philadelphia team that hadn't won on the road for 23 games.
Yep.
I mean, that, for a team like New Orleans, who has the talent and needs to make up for such a bad start, they started out 2-10, they need to make up for that. And losing games at home to Philadelphia won't do that. Won't do that. So, I mean, they got that humongous 1-point overtime win against the Phoenix Suns last night.
Yeah.
Sarcasm noted. I'm hoping.
It's needed to
win. Right. So, I don't know. They're tough. I mean, they're saying Tyreke Evans will be back soon. Who knows? Who knows when he comes back, how healthy he'll be, what impact he'll make. Holiday's missed a couple games since coming back. So, they're a very tough team to figure out, too. We'll see.
Again, a reminder for those of you watching this live, please feel free to type in questions, comments. We had a Cavs fan come on here, and it wasn't me, who said, yeah, the threat to is Cleveland in the whole Eastern Conference, and everyone is still saying the Warriors will win it. I think, again, Cleveland will bring a championship to Cleveland. That's Jose Herrera, and then he was followed up shortly by some more Go Cavs fans, and these are not even my friends.
Wow, are you sure?
Yeah, I promise
sure?
you. I promise you that. Terrell Curry says Go Cavs.
Perry too. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. No relation to Steph. No. But then also we talked about the Clippers down 3 spots. They were 3, 6. They could be in that top 10 all year, going up and down, up and down. So we won't put much on them there. But the Celtics are a team in the East that we kind of expected bigger things from. That we expected them to take a little bit more of a leap. And they had some injuries early on. They're still trying to find time to gel. Is them dropping from 8 to 11? Is that really a big deal at this point?
Not yet. I mean, I think when we were doing this a couple weeks ago, I said the same thing. I was telling the Celtics fans not to panic. You know, don't panic. Everything will be okay. You guys have a lot of talent and a great coach, but they've lost 3 of their last 4 games now. And Isaiah Thomas has been out. You know, he's an all-star point guard, one heck of a player. He's been out with that groin injury. He's a fighter, so he's trying to come back as quick as possible. So I think Jay Crowder and Al Horford missed 8 or 9 games each earlier. So those are their 3 best players, arguably. So once everybody's back and they get time playing together, I mean, Horford, they haven't all really spent that much time playing together. So once that happens, I think they'll be okay. They can still finish as, honestly, even a number 2 seed in the East, because I think they're that talented.
And that's the luxury of being in the East too.
Yeah,
I mean, really, exactly. I mean, you fall behind a little early. You got some room for error,
right,
so to speak. But your team in the West, you're falling behind early. Like the Pelicans, you fall behind early. You can't have these hiccups.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean that's a good team, and I'm sure we'll be talking good things about them as the season goes on. Michael Olive says the Jazz having to piece together a starting lineup almost every game, and they are still 5 games above 500, and have won 8 of the last 10. Once they get healthy, do you think they make a significant push to the playoffs? Now, again, they were in our top 10 here. They tied for 8. So clearly, we as a network feel that this is a team that is legit,
yes.
Right? And this is considering to this point what they've done.
Yes.
So if they get healthy and they get better, they're a playoff team. Right?
Oh yes, without a doubt. They're a playoff team right now.
Are they a home playoff team?
That's the question. So the Jazz are a very, very scary team. I mean, they've had George Hill and Derek Favors have only played in 11 of the team's 25 games, right? And they're 15-10. Yep. They're 15-10. So Gordon Hayward has missed time. Rodney Hood has missed time. And those are 4 starters, right? And they're still 15-10. So they have a great bench. Joe Johnson coming in. They have guys like Boris Diaw and Trey Lyles to pick up the slack some. So once everybody's back and healthy, if that ever even happens, because it seems like it can't with Utah, they're definitely, going to contend for a 4 or 5 seed for sure. I mean, assuming, because you don't know what to expect with Houston, you don't know what to expect with the Clippers, but they're, I think, right there with them in terms of talent when everybody's back.
And right now in our rankings, we would have if our rankings were supreme and not record, you got the Rockets 3, you got the Clippers 4, so those are the teams that are going to be competing.
Right.
We also have the Grizzlies up there, and Max Sherlow, if I say your name wrong, I'm sorry, said, "How about them Grizz?" So he's pretty pumped up too.
He should be.
Thanks again for the comments, everyone. As you're watching live, questions, comments, welcome. We're going to move along quickly here. Off the Rookie of the Year. We don't need to.
No, we don't.
Probably don't really need to talk about it. This is probably going to be a standard for us to just say it's still Embiid, and then everyone else with a big, big space in between. If anything changes on that, you'll get more. But this is going to be a standard drop-in line on the Rookie of the Year.
And it's been between Dario Saric of the 76ers and Jamal Murray of the Nuggets switching back.
Keep switching back.
Keep switching back. And honestly, if Ben Simmons was healthy, it'd probably be Dario Saric, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons, all 76ers in the top 3. So,
exactly.
So be excited, Sixers fans.
Right,
for the future.
right. Yeah, moving up in the power rankings, getting a lot of named players and Rookie of the Year.
Exactly.
Someday it'll be MVP. And along to MVP, which this race is just shaping up to be so much fun this year.
It's a lot of fun.
All 5 of these guys are just, these are legit, and we don't have CP3 in here right now.
We don't.
But number 5, I'm gonna say the player. You give me something that stands out at you about them. 5, Kawhi Leonard.
Well, just a disclaimer, that was my preseason MVP pick. I really, because
plug.
Yeah, exactly. He's being Kawhi Leonard, which means he's playing incredible basketball again, better than he has in his whole career, at least offensively. And he's number 5 in our MVP race.
And you know, I'll throw in my 2 cents here. These other 4 guys, they get all the glitz and glamour and the buzz. This is a guy who plays for, who's a reason why the Spurs have been so good behind the scenes with Duncan, when Duncan was there, and Ginobili and Tony Parker, and he's just. Now he's in the spotlight, but he's still not in the spotlight.
Exactly.
You know? So
it's insane. I mean, and it's his team now, and they're on pace for another 61 season.
Yeah. Very quietly.
So
those Spurs.
I don't see how he can drop out of the top 5 if he keeps playing this way, but I also don't see him making a leap to the guys we're about to talk about.
Yeah. Number 4 is Durant. Leads the team in about 6 or 7 categories right now. Talk a little bit about him.
I mean, you could make the case that he's playing better basketball than he ever has in his career, which is pretty scary. You know, he's not scoring the 30, 31 points per game. He's scoring, I think, averaging 26 right now, but his percentages are higher than they've ever been. His rebounds, his blocks are higher than they've ever been. So he's arguably the most valuable player on this Warriors team.
And that's the thing is, as we say, all these 5 guys, they are all. You almost can just say they should be an MVP this year. They should be an MVP this year. Durant, no different, putting up MVP numbers. He won an MVP, putting up numbers that weren't as good as this. But and he's coming in, he's keeping this team. You know, the Warriors of last year, he's kind of keeping them right there. You know, number 3, LeBron James, etching his name deeper and deeper into the record books. Now he's first front court player to get 7,000 assists. Talk a little bit, but what hasn't been said about LeBron? Can we talk about it? Can we talk anything more?
Not really. I mean, you see how he's leading the Cavs. I mean, he kind of has a different role now. You know, Jeff Zilgett has written extensively about this, how he's kind of taking a back seat, at least in terms of scoring, and is really a distributor. I mean, he's been one of the best distributors in NBA history his whole career. But now, really, with the way Kevin Love's playing, the way Kyrie's playing, he can really focus on rebounding, focus on passing, and focus on being a leader. And then, of course, there's like, I think it was a Saturday night game where he put up 44 and 10 and 9, and then just turns it on. So he's LeBron James. You know, I mean, it's
right. Number 2, I said that all these guys could be up for an MVP, but number 2, I mean, legit, James Harden is having a year that in most years we would be saying he's a runaway MVP.
Runaway, yep.
But number 1 is Russell Westbrook,
Yep.
and he's having a year that we can't even really put into words right now.
Right, even compared with all of NBA history.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely insane. He's averaging 31 points. I have it right here. I don't have it memorized. I'm sorry. 11.3 assists and 10.8 rebounds, and obviously he became the first player since Michael Jordan with 7 consecutive triple doubles. I believe the 3rd player in NBA history to do it or the 4th player with Oscar Robertson and Wilt Chamberlain, which, you know, that's pretty good company to be in. And he's also on pace to have the highest usage rate in NBA history, which is, you know, that was almost expected, but he's being so efficient doing it. You know, it's not like he has the ball and he's just not being efficient. I mean, look at the Thunder. They've won 6 of their last 7 games.
Yeah.
I mean, he's completely carrying the team. I mean, they will go as far as he takes them, and right now he's capable of taking them pretty far. I mean, what can he not do at this point? It's incredible. I mean, words really can't describe the fire that he plays with and the passion he has for the game and for winning, and how, you know, he's the smallest guy on the court and he's pulling down 18 rebounds, out rebounding everybody, because he just has that energy and that fire, and it's pretty scary.
I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot about Russell Westbrook this year. All right, so we're done with that portion, but we do have one more question before we end for today. Chris Shane Chambers wants to know: will the Hawks ever take the division? Wondering if they actually mean the conference in.
Let me pull up the division standings. 1 second. Because I know they're 12 and 12. I just want to see where they are right now, currently in the division. Yeah, I mean,
the Hornets.
Yeah,
they're better. They're probably a better team than the Hornets, right? Maybe they're only 2 games behind them.
Talent-wise, yeah, but they just lost 7 straight games.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to expect with Atlanta. I mean, they've won their last 2. Finally, they bounced back from that 7-game losing streak, but right now, I don't really have that much confidence in them. And the way Charlotte's been playing, they've won 3 out of their last 4, and they're looking like a pretty solid team. So that would definitely be a race to keep an eye on, is that division. I mean, I see both of those teams being, you know, like I was saying about the Knicks, you know, in between that 5 and 8, you know, little area. You know, they can drop off, they can move forward, they can surge, they can fall. I mean, that's the beauty of the East.
Lying in the weeds there is the Wizards too in that division.
Yeah, that's
too.
right.
So I mean,
that's right. Who are surging a little bit,
making a mini surge.
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
So that's a great question actually. That'll be an interesting race, you know. And even if the Magic stop being schizophrenic,
yeah,
like you said, that'll be an interesting race when it comes down to April.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps things up for us this week, folks. If we didn't get to your question live, feel free to ask the question. We will get back to it as soon as we possibly can. As always, we thank our colleagues from around the USA Today Network for our help with the voting, and of course, we thank you for joining us and asking the questions today.
And Anthony Davis. Got to thank Anthony Davis for being our special guest appearance. He's a busy guy.
Yeah. You can keep up to date with USA Today Sports NBA coverage from our dream team of reporters at nba.usatoday.com. Follow us on Twitter at USA Today NBA. And then AJ on Twitter at tweetAJNK. And I'm Casey_Moore. Join us next week for week 7 and probably more of the same with the MVP and rookie.